Lovely. Good evening, Zambia. Good evening, Africa, and warm welcome to the special program with me, Innocent. Period. You can simply call me IP. Today, the 9th of March in the year 2022. We sincerely apologize for starting the program a little bit late, but I want to believe that we're within the schedule. My guest on the program is Honorable Anton Kasandwe, who happens to be Member of Parliament for Bangweulu constituency. Here to share with us his expectations as far as the State of Address is concerned, which is slated for this Friday by Republican President Hakainde Hichilema. Let's find out what he has on the menu this evening. You can follow the conversation on our social media page, Ask Movie, and indeed our YouTube page is as well active. For those that are watching us through the Topstar Decoder, Channel 104 is the channel you are following the program. Honorable, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening, Innocent. Good evening, viewers.
Thank you so much. You are coming to this studio 2 days before, actually a day in between, before the President steps once again to Parliament on Friday to give his State of National Address to update the country on how much progress we've made as a nation as far as national values and principles are concerned. He did made his maiden speech that was shortly after he was elected as Republican President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. What do we expect on Friday, just from you as a Member of Parliament? What are your expectations?
First of all, Innocent, I would like to make it very clear that this is actually a constitutional provision. I think the people of Zambia, through the constitution of the 2016, they did speak to this fact that the president should not only be coming to Parliament to open it officially in September at the beginning of each cycle, but they also emphasized the point through their submissions that we need the president to come to Parliament at least once in a year to report to the Zambian people. And in fact, I really don't understand why people call this segment Sona.
Right.
Okay, Sona because it's the State of Nation Address, isn't it? But this segment, particularly, the president is just coming to report. Let me just read what the Constitution says, so that we follow. For me, it's not supposed to be addressed to as addressation of the nation.
How should it be addressed?
The president is coming to give a report.
Right.
Is not actually, that is my understanding. Is not addressing the nation, as it were, but is giving account of what we have done as a country in terms of values and principles.
I want you to guide the country because you're a Member of Parliament, and these laws that we are following, and this kind of terminology is Sona. We were given by members of Parliament like you. So, what is your lecture to the general public?
So for me, what I will simply say, let me just read Article 9(2). The President shall once in every year report to the National Assembly the progress made in the application of the values and principles specified under this part. So, if you follow this clause, even without being a lawyer, even without starting interpreting the law and the statement, the President is coming to Parliament on Friday, to the National Assembly, to submit a report on the progress made in the application of values and principles specified under Part A. So the principles are as follows. On part 2, number 8, the national values and principles are as follows: morality and ethics, patriotism and national unity, democracy and constitutionalism, human dignity, equity, social justice, equality, and non-discrimination, good governance and integrity, and sustainable development. So, reading the Constitution at first value, the President is actually coming to Parliament after tomorrow to give an account of how all of us Zambians, we have applied ourselves in ensuring that we uphold these values and principles. Now, coming to the expectations, you know, for me, from the word go, I've never, in fact, believed that UPND will transform this country according to what they were saying during the campaign. I have my own reasons. Some few years ago, I actually interacted with the now president when I contested at first in Bangor constituency in 2006, the elections which I lost. Okay, I was part of the UDA, okay, which constituted FDD, UPND, and UNIP. And I really interacted with Mr. Ichlema. And I don't believe he's the man who can transform this country. Okay, that is just my belief. It's well, we can call it an opinion because I've interacted with him. Okay, and we had to part company because I didn't want to belong to a grouping where my opinion did not matter. I didn't want to belong to a grouping of people where I should keep quiet. People should know we should just be listening to certain voices in that grouping. So for me, really, strongly speaking, I don't believe UPND will transform this country. Even going by whatever they have done in the past 6 months, all they do in Parliament when ministers are asked on the floor of the question is excuses. All the time is to talk about PF and so on and so forth. Now, as for expectations, if any, what I expect to hear on Friday is justifications. Of course, I expect the president to justify why the dollar has not come down. I expect the president to justify why the fuel prices have continued to escalate instead of coming down. I expect the president to justify why the cost of fertilizer, the price of fertilizer has continued to go up. And generally, I expect him to justify why the cost of living continues to escalate and to go up. Because for me, that is the only thing that I expect the president to do. I don't expect anything outside simply justifying. Because basically, that is what they have done in the past 6 months. You remember the other day, if what we are reading in social media is true, the president did say that in order for us to begin to move the economy going forward, we need to deal with the leakages, first of all.
We have to stop the bleeding.
We have to stop the bleeding. Those were his exact words. But if you ask me, is the president who came publicly and openly and told the people of Zambia, he commented almost on everything, and he said he had the solution. So my understanding was that he already knew the disease that the patient was suffering from, if we can take Zambia as a patient. So Mr. Ikainde knew the disease, what this patient called Zambia was suffering from. And he had already diagnosed, and he has already prescribed before he was elected. So what remained was simply for him now to administer the mankwala, because he diagnosed the disease already. He had done all the needed laboratory tests, okay? And he also did the prescription. I'm sure the people of Zambia are following me, what I mean by saying, Zambia, let's take Zambia as a sick person, okay? So the president, when he was in opposition, he realized that Zambia was distressed. Zambia was sick. And then he diagnosed the sickness through his own laboratory tests. And he prescribed through through the interactions and the public meetings that he had solutions. So now, what the Zambian people expected from him is simply now to say, here is the medicine, and start administering the medicine to cure the disease that he had already diagnosed and prescribed. So, but what we see today is just a blame game. PF this, PF that. The people of Zambia on the 12th of August of 2021 made a decision and entrusted the governing of this country in the hands of the UPND. because they saw what they didn't like about PF, and they, according to their right judgment, the doctor who can cure the problems of Zambia is the current president. Okay? So for me, really, outside what I've already alluded to, I don't expect anything new apart from what they have so far been talking about.
Honorable, I should make mention to you that I'm afraid as we begin this interview, you and I already, because it's like I'm dealing with a person whose mind is already switched, is already set. Like you've mentioned that from the preamble, you never believed in the leadership of President Hakainde Hichilema and the UPND. According to your justification, you worked with this man way before, and you understand him very well. You understood him very well. So really, it's going to be difficult for me, for you really to acknowledge some of the good things that the president has performed so far. But anyway, I'm here to guide you and be able to remind you, unless you deliberately choose not to agree with the people, some people of Zambia. Let's begin from the aspect of the economy, which you are talking about, that you want the head of state to come and testify as to why the economy keeps on swelling. And the reference why possibly the UPND and the president keeps on referring to the leadership which was in place a few months ago, it's very easy. You are the people that were in charge of this country, and the huge debt we have as a country was actually necessitated by your leadership. And it would be just wise for the UPND to keep on, of course, reminding the people of Zambia to say we are where we are today because of the previous man who was in charge and also the leadership in place. That's where we are. And again, I think it would be naive for you and I and the people of Zambia to quickly crucify the UPND within 6 months in office. Don't you think that
you see, Innocent, let me be as objective as possible.
Please.
To every negation, there is affirmation.
Right.
Okay? The coin has two sides, and it always takes two people to tango.
Right.
Okay, so when I'm looking at these issues, I'm looking at the negation side and the affirmation side. Okay? Because you've said no, because you've already closed the door. I'll try to be as objective as possible.
Thank you.
Let us talk about the recovery plan for the economy. Yeah. Okay? We were told during the campaign, even before, that this economy is sick. And as a know-it-all, as a value fix-it, they had a solution. That is what was my introductory part. They already appointed some gray areas, and the people of Zambia knew that PF had borrowed. You remember when last time I was here, I did allude to the fact that you cannot talk about the debt out of context. The debt that we incurred, the monies that PF borrowed, should be understood in the context. Because our understanding, we realized as PF that in order to stimulate growth in the economy, we needed, first of all, to lay a background. And that background, in our opinion, is infrastructure development. Okay? Roads, schools, universities, communication, and so on and so forth. We needed to industrialize. Okay, so you need to industrialize by, for example, ensuring that communication is improved and enhanced. Okay?
But of course, even the roads, if you talk about the roads, you can't boast that all the roads in Zambia are okay, you know. It's questionable again. Each and every day we see accidents. And some of these accidents are necessitated because of the bad roads network which we have.
You see,
yeah.
The truth of the matter is, development is not an event. It is not a one-off event. It is a process. There is no government that can deal with all the challenges. Okay, we are coming from UNIP of 27 years, MMD 20 years, and there are things that MMD should have done that they didn't do. Okay, so what my point is that develop.
So you hear, even you also. I
want to lay.
Where you took over the realm from.
I'm giving an example because there is no government under this head that can deal with all the challenges. So that's why, in our opinion, as PF, we realize that to to realign, to improve this economy, we wanted a sure basis, a background on which we should build our policies going forward. And that platform, that backbone, which we identified as PF, was infrastructure development. You can look, for example, at communication. We've laid fiber cables all over the country, towers all over the country, and so on and so forth, roads and hospitals. So there is no one who can come and claim that even UPND, they will not deal with all the challenges. But now, talking about debt, it is true. And if you've been following, if you followed my debate in the last parliament, I was one of the first MPs to acknowledge that, yes, indeed, it is true, PF borrowed. And we can point to the investment where this money which was borrowed went to. Okay? But what we've forgotten as Zambians is that there were other factors that necessitated PF to fail to begin to dismantle some of this debt. I'll give you an example. Let's take you are a businessman. You come to me. Honorable Kasandwe, I want to go. I'll give you a very simple example. I want to go to Nakonde to order tires so that I start selling. And you give me 6 months. So you come to me, you borrow money, and we agree, okay, that within 6 months, you should pay back the debt, the money you have borrowed to me after you sell your tires. You go to Tanzania, you order your tires, and along the way, maybe on transit, you are involved in an accident. Okay? You lose maybe 3/4 of your tires in an accident, or everything. Okay? The tires were supposed to be a revenue generator so that when you make a profit, you pay back the money. Okay? I've used the simplest example. That is somehow that happened to Zambia. As PF, we borrowed. And we had a plan to pay back. But we had a calamity after calamity. Calamities that we never anticipated. I'll give you another example of the calamities I'm alluding to. You know, we never anticipated that the price of copper would come to $2,000 per metric ton. So when the price of copper went to the bottom, we had a drought in 2017, okay, which was a cause of the lack of power which we experienced in 2018. Road shedding. What did the government do? Government decided to import power from Mozambique. Now you can imagine, you import power from Mozambique so that mines in Zambia can generate wealth, can mine. Okay, so that power is borrowed. Okay, or that money is spent in buying power, so that power can be invested in the mines, for example. So power is invested in the mines, but the price came down. So meaning that money which was invested in power so that we can inject in the mining for production to go up, at the end of the day, what did we see? Low production of power. Of copper. What did we see? Low prices of copper. So there were so many factors that contributed to the Patriotic Fund to fail to start to liquidate the debt. It was not by design. Okay? Even now, you hear UPND will start saying that the prices of fuel is going up because they never anticipated what is happening in Russia and Ukraine. So there are things that they are natural calamities that you do not expect to occur, that affect your planning, your projection, and everything. So you will have to adjust. For example, UPND are saying, no, PF had put subsidies on electricity. I can give you the same example. ZESCO was importing power at a higher cost and selling at a lower price. So who was covering up the gap? That was deliberately in order to cushion the cost of living among the people of Zambia. So for me, any economist that only talks about debt without putting it in context, and we also without considering the factors that surrounded the factors that made PF to fail not to begin to dismantle the debt, I'll question that economist, because you have to look at this issue of debt holistically. Okay, one, we have to look at the reason why we borrowed, to stimulate economic growth. Okay, number two, we have to look at what we have achieved through the borrowed money. Number three, you have to look at the factors that made us to fail to begin to dismantle the debt. So you cannot just talk about debt on its own. No, they overborrowed. When we were borrowing, we are going to the fact that we pay. Every person that borrows, he has a plan B kind of plan, and he has laid down a strategy of how that debt is going to be dismantled.
I love the term you've used, plan B, and that's what possibly something that has been lacking, that lacked in your governance, in the last 10 years of the PF in government. Because when you talk about the issues, the drought issues, we always have to anticipate that possibly, in the case there's drought, what are we going to do? You need to have a plan B as government in power. Droughts are not a new phenomenon to this world. They have been there. The issues of climate change, which President Galungu kept on lamenting about, climate change has been with us for quite a longer period of time. But the PF, you capitalize on that and begin to use that as an excuse to the people of Zambia that we've got climate change, and then the COVID also came in. It became also another excuse. The issue of borrowing, Honorable Cassandra, is that it's like you had a lot of appetite, the PF Wallace in power, to borrow, such that you went to the extent of borrowing without even involving your colleagues in the parliament, the opposition, because the constitution is clear that each and every stage of borrowing is supposed to be proven or approved by parliament. At some point, you went in a reckless way using the arrogance of numbers, or you went to borrow using the back door.
I don't know. I don't really understand what you mean about reckless. You see, the borrowed money can be traced. Okay, that is what we should be talking about. Right. This money that we borrowed can be actually traced. How many universities do we have today? We are donated to public universities. How many do we have? Before we trace the money, you were borrowing money on behalf of the Zambian people without taking or without seeking an approval through Parliament. According
that
to,
was okay.
I can't remember the clause in the Constitution, because you see, that part of the Constitution needed to be operationalized through an act of Parliament. Okay, there is a provision that points to that, that before debt is contracted, approval should be obtained from the National Assembly. But that is a part of the Constitution that was not yet operationalized.
You are sure, Honorable? Are you sure?
I mean, there is no act to operationalize that clause. There is no act in place. Okay?
There is an act. There is an act. It must be 202.
No, you are talking about maybe a clause in the Constitution.
That's what I'm saying.
So that's the clause. That is the clause I'm also referring to.
Yes.
So that part of the
Constitution.
It exists.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is...
And it was abrogated. You abrogated it.
No, innocent. You see, a constitution is a living document. There are so many provisions in this constitution that needed to be operationalized. Okay? So the principle law in itself, it needs an interpretation or operationalized through acts of parliament. There are a number of clauses in this constitution that are yet to be operationalized. So what you are referring to is one of the clauses in the constitution that give instructions that an act of parliament should be put in place to govern or to manage or in fact to really put in place a mechanism through which money should be borrowed, or through which, or how money should, how Parliament should approve any money that government intends to borrow. So that part of the Constitution is not yet operationalized. So now, as I said at the beginning, we borrowed specifically to begin to stimulate the economy based on the infrastructure development. You may realize that, you see, as I said, to every negation there is affirmation. I don't think innocent honesty, you can proudly stand on until today and say that the money borrowed has not transformed this country, has not contributed to the transformation of Zambia. Is that true? No. That's why we are saying what our colleagues should have been saying is, of course, in this area our colleagues did very well. And when we take over, we'll do, like roads, okay? There are a number of roads that we've done. Critical roads. Kazungura Bridge. We can talk of Kalabo Mong Road. I can go on, I can give you a litany of roads that we have done. But even that, no one individual, no one government can do all the roads in a country in a shorter stretch of time.
And how possible that the UPND in power, within 6 months, they can be able to turn around the wheels of the economy within 6 months? Is it realistic?
You see, it is.
How
it is. You see, any development, it is the takeoff that matters. How you start. Or even in any business, even in any football match, even in anything that you do in life, the takeoff really matter. The starting point. Okay? And when Zambian people are questioning UPND, and I don't know why you are saying in 6 months. Because we are only talking and reminding about things that they said they will do in the first 200 days.
Which are? I
can give you an example. Let me, I get you there are things they said they will do by February. Okay, let's hope my technology will not fail me. Okay. I can actually start with the dollar. Okay? The president said, I'm sworn in at 10 hours. By 14 hours, what will happen to Kwacha? It's not me interviewing you. Sure. So, he said the Kwacha will actually improve. And there was a figure, I think it will come to about 12 Kwacha. Okay? So, we are not concocting, we are not putting our words in the mouth of the president. It is in black and white. He did say, if I'm sworn in at 10 hours, at 12 hours, the Kwacha will improve. You see, you cannot break the mirror by reflecting the reality. What the mirror does, me as an opposition MP, to give checks and balances, I'm a mirror for the government in power. If you look on the mirror and you have a big pimple on the nose, what are you going to do? Are you going to break the mirror to show you that you have a big pimple on your nose? You deal with the pimple. Okay, so us as opposition members of parliament, we are a mirror to reflect the reality, because if you ignore the reality, then I don't know what you can pay attention to. So our responsibility is to remind UPND to ensure that what they said, I will not talk about what they didn't say. Okay? For example, let me just talk about the plan. They said, one of the things they said is that they are going to constitute a team of experts that will come up with a strategy of how they are going to turn around the economy. They said they will do that in a first 1 month. Has he set up a team of experts to come up with a turnaround strategy? No strategy. No plan. The only plan they have is what the IMF is going to say in June. So from August last year to June this year, 10 months, they have folded their hands and they are waiting for IMF to give them the package, the turnaround strategic plan to turn around this economy. So what happens in these 10 months? Have they done anything to show to us that they have actually giving solution to this country? No, it's excuses and excuses. He said he's going to appoint a Minister of Finance, a genius. They said they are going to employ teachers. They said a lot of things. So We are only talking about the things that they said they would do. Let me just pick
Honorable
few.
Cassandra, when you say that the UPND has decided to fold its arms, I think you are being unfair. And you did mention that the kickoff, that's what matters according to your understanding.
Absolutely.
You know, and we did see in the first kickoff of the UPND, by December, about somewhere there, the UPND was able to release, as far as equalization fund is concerned. Again, within December, we saw the 1.6 million kwacha CDF for 2021 was again given to all the constituencies.
Innocent.
Something which was not really happening as in a consistent manner under your administration.
Innocent.
We could hear MPs coming here complaining that I've not received my money in terms of CDF.
Innocent.
And that money was given. So
Well,
how do you blame the kickoff?
Okay, let me put it this way. Was there a council that was being owed money in terms of equalization fund by the PF government by August 2021? That is the first question first we must ask ourselves. Was government in arrears in terms of equalization fund? That is something as a journalist you should go and find out. There were no arrears by the time UPND took over. There were no arrears in terms of equalization fund. And then the practice for CDF has been that in an election year, there has been some delays, okay? There has been some delays in order not to think that the government in power has released the CDF in good time this year because of elections, okay? So that in
Is that by law or is just a
the
practice?
practice. That's why I've said there have been a practice.
Yeah.
There have been.
Why practicing in such a manner when people are dying?
If
You
you
stab the people because of an election.
no, because you
know,
see,
And remember, there are other projects that you were carrying as the PF in power, justifying that we can't stop developing these areas or carrying out certain projects because of an election.
so what I'm
So
saying,
really, you are contradicting yourself.
there is no contradiction.
Yes.
Let me put it in black and white,
Please.
plainly. Okay? The 2021 financial year, CDF was released after August 2021 within the budget of PF. So was that extraordinary on the part of UPND? You see, we should differentiate the routine from initiatives. Okay, for example, there are things that government is supposed to do ordinarily by the very fact that they are in government. Okay, is releasing, for example, CDF in December a big deal? What we should be talking...
It was a good start or kickoff.
Innocent, what we should be talking about is the 25.7 million. It's in their budget. They told us that come January, they are going to release 25.7 million per constituency in CDF. If you followed my debate, I said it is too early to praise this budget if it's the best of its kind. Because the budget is not in the speech, it is in its output. At the end of this year, that is when we are going to, as far as I'm concerned, at the end of this year, when we'll be discussing the 2023 budget, October, December this year, that is when we are going to know whether this budget was the best of its kind. Because pronouncements are pronouncements. What reflects the budget and its performance? It's in the output. It is at the end of this year, then we should be saying, how has their budget performed? So now for me, I should not concentrate so much on the 1.6 that was under the PF budget. We should be talking about 25.7 million, which they said they will release in January. But we knew, because we've been in government before, we knew it was not possible to release CDF 25.7 million per constituency because their budget was starting from January 1st. And they needed to really mobilize resources. So what we should be talking about is the commitments that they made. For example, the questions you should be asking UPND, have they been able to meet targets in terms of tax collections? Did they meet their target in January? If the answer is yes, how much have they collected against their target? Have they met their target in February? If yes, how much have... Those are issues we should be talking about. So for me, as an opposition member of parliament, I get worried. I get worried that 2 months in a row, the new Dawn government, which told us that they have a strategy, they have a better economic plan to transform this country so that the living conditions of Zambian people improves. You should find out from them if they have been able to manage to collect, to meet targets in terms of revenue collection in the past 2 months. So that is where they should be applying their knowledge, their energy, instead of always referring to PF. For example, you said we borrowed. It's a known fact. This anthem, this song was sung by UPND in the past 5 years. And they said they will not borrow. And they said they have a strategy to come and dismantle the debt. For me, as a opposition member of parliament, I should remind them, okay, I should remind them that at least by June, you should have dismantled even a third of the debt that you accumulated. So there is no debate about debt anymore. The debate should now be, how do we dismantle this debt now that we have mastered?
How can the UPND do that?
You see, for us,
how best can the UPND turn around the economy?
For them, they are waiting for the IMF because as I'm speaking now, they have no plan.
Yeah, and for you?
For us,
what do you
for
think
instance,
should be done?
For instance, we could have taken advantage of the price of copper now. More than $10,000 now, we are going to $10,000 per metric ton of copper. And then the minister comes to parliament and makes the royalties deductible. Okay? Because according to him, that is the way it's going to improve productivity. They could have maybe put that, they could have put that on ice. They could have simply said, okay, for now that we have a good price of copper, for the first 2-3 years, let us just follow the regime, the mining regime that was put in place by PF. Then after 3 years, we see how the mines perform. Then in the fourth, fifth year, we could have made the mineral royalties deductible. Now we are losing a lot of money for now. So that is one avenue through which we can turn around this economy. Another one, through agriculture. If you may recall, there are more than 2,000 solar armor mills, which are managed by cooperatives throughout the country. And we left a bumper harvest. If that one of the strategies what UPND should have done, for them, they opened up the market. They started selling maize outside the country. For me, what they needed to do is to look for money, to invest through the small medium enterprise ministry that they have introduced. For me, they needed to look for money, okay, in this budget, to inject in those cooperatives that have the 2,000 solar armor mills, pushing that in those cooperatives money so that the maize that the UPND started selling can be even given to cooperatives on credit. Okay? You have 20,000 metric ton of maize as a cooperative, do the value addition, do the mini meal. Here is the money. Start the packaging, the marketing and everything. Even if they were producing 500 bags per day, you multiply by 2,000 solar armor mills. That will be something to talk about. You will have empowered those cooperatives to start producing mini meal and exporting that mini meal. So there are so many examples. There are so many things that we can suggest to our colleagues. But for them, each time you try to talk to them, they'll tell you are there, why didn't you implement what you are talking about? You see, there comes a time in life, okay? In Bemba we say, ukupunda mutule is not a problem. When you know you are stuck, be a man enough, okay?
My question again would be just a follow-up question. Do you also acknowledge, I think these are the concerns that have been coming forward, from those in government and also not only the government side, but even members of the public that always sympathize with the UPND, knowing the fact that there was a lot of money that was, looted within your tenure in office as a patriotic front, and evidence to that effect. You could see how some of your unruly cadres could move around, boasting around, driving around with cash, swimming in cash. It meant that the country had a lot of money, and there was lack of leadership to control or manage those cadres around. Don't you think that's a bleeding which the president keeps on talking about? That has to be stopped.
Innocent. The people of Zambia made a decision on the 12th of August 2021. I will repeat. They made a decision based on some of the issues that you have alluded to. It's a closed chapter. You can talk about people flashing money and so on and so forth. And this government today, they are misusing money. They are extorting money from the treasury. How can you explain we still have ministers who have not occupied government houses? They are drawing 11 million as housing allowances when there is accommodation provided for them. How can you justify that? And there are some provincial ministers who are living in guest houses, in carrying costs. And then you are saying this is a prudent government. No, my brother. So if we committed such offenses that made the people of Zambia to lose confidence in us and vote us out, so where is the alternative? So you mean to tell me these ministers, if I look at those ministers we have today, you mean they are so special that they cannot live in those government houses? So they have opted to go for money. Is that not rooting? This economy you are saying is breeding. But cabinet ministers are drawing 11 million kwacha in housing allowances. Okay? And then we should just be quiet because we committed the offenses. No, we accept. Even you remember the last time when I was here, I said, yes, truth be told, it is written in black and white. Evidence is there that there are things that we did that displeased the people of Zambia. The reason they showed us the door. At that moment when they showed us the door, other people were ushered in government. It is high time these guys began to start sorting out problems. So it is high time these ministers should move in those government houses. Okay? So, Innocent, that is public. I mean...
Should we take it that maybe those... maybe why some ministers have not moved into government houses, they are waiting for these areas to be maybe renovated, affected. I'm not sure about the allegations you are making that some ministers or provincial ministers, they are lodging in guest houses, hotels. I'm not sure. You have to...
You see, that is what I always say. I apologize, Innocent, without taking away anything from the efforts that the media is making. There is one aspect that you guys have neglected. Okay? Research. Investigative journalists. Last time I did even suggest to you, if there was anything I said that was a lie, you should have called me back and said, Honorable Kasando, when we had an interaction, you said this and this and this and this. After that interview, we actually put the wheels of a research in motion. And we have just come to realize that you lied. So I am coming to you. Help this nation to get the information, the truth. There are ministers who are not occupying government houses. Are they special human beings? Because we are being told that to be leaders is to sacrifice. Okay? There are ministers who I know. You can do your own investigations. Provincial ministers who are lodging in hotels instead of government houses. Okay? So that is what we are saying. In one vein, they are saying PF rooted. Are they not rooting? Are they not rooting? So PF is a closed chapter, Bwana Innocent. And people of Zambia, including myself, we are tired. Okay? Because the reason we are showed the door, people became displeased, with some of the things that we did. It's a fact. It's a notorious fact that we are out of government now. Now look at the replacement. Let me give you another example. A football match. You are playing number 10, I'm playing number 11. They substitute you in the 60th minute, okay? Because the coach has confidence in you, believes you to be a super sub with skills that if we introduce you in the team, you are going to make a difference and you are going to score. You go in the match and then you start saying, the guy, I've just come in on the 60th minute. That striker who was here before me, he didn't score in 60 minutes. Are you serious? Are you serious? Do you have to refer to the player who has been substituted? No, why didn't he score? Buana, you have been substituted. You are now in the football match. Score. Make the goals. Start improving the lives of Zambian people. Of course, you see, people are saying, no, PF is arrogant in the manner they are answering. And when we speak on the floor of the House, people are saying we are bitter. Bitter about what? The truth of the matter is the success of UPND is my success.
Allow me to manage my time, Honorable, and I will squeeze in a few questions before we wind up. The other aspect I wanted you to have a bite is regarding the rule of law, as the President will be going to Parliament this Friday. How has it been in the last 6 months? How has been the implementation from your own understanding?
For me,
from an objective angle.
For me, I don't agree with those people who are saying that the people surrounding the President are failing him. The President told us that he's going to assemble the best cabinet we've never seen. Okay? For him, what we have today is the best. According to him. Okay? So, when we come to the rule of law, let me first talk about constitutionalism. The President is saying, in fact, last time I said, it's not the President saying it, it's what the law says. For example, if you detain a person within 48 hours, that person should be charged. I'll give you examples of people who have stayed in custody more than 48 hours. The case, I was following your program this morning on that woman who was detained for 7 days with a child. Is that a rule of law? Is that rule of law? The President saying one thing and something else is happening. Okay? Blessed are the doers of the word, not the propagators of the word. That woman was detained. Of course, well, if she committed a crime, within 48 hours should have been charged and given bond. But what about that kid? Are they going to compensate that child? If you can compensate the wife for the chief in Mukuni, if you can compensate Mukuni and Sejan, so the government should compensate that boy who was in custody and lawfully. Is that rule of law? No. Ambassador Mwamba was on social media the other day visiting a PPF cadre who has been in detention for 7 days without being charged. Is that rule of law? A few days ago, there was a former DC for Katete in detention for 5 days without being charged. Is that rule of law? The written, I can go on and on and on and on and on. So the President is not walking the talk. And no one is failing him. He's failing us.
Why should we blame the President, really? When the President has given a mandate, he has appointed people to operate, on their own without any form of interference. Why do we bring in the head of state?
The buck falls on him. I like giving examples. Is President Lungu the President today?
Not at all.
Is Honorable Kasandwe the MP today?
Yes.
Yes. President Lungu is not in government today because of the so many sins that other people committed. But I'm MP today. But President Lungu is not president because for things he did not even know about. But why did the people of Zambia decide to change the driver? Because the buck falls on the driver, on the head of state. Because we should be seeing action. Okay? expired medicine delivered. You fire the poor workers at Zamsa. You leave the minister and the other guys on the top. The child is in cells for 7 days. The police officers have been left scot-free. Crack the whip, then the people of Zambia will take you seriously. So if you don't crack the whip, then you should take responsibility. You should really take the responsibility, because it is the head of state who has appointed those people. And in fact, he has delegated some of his powers to them. So where is the rule of law? The police, for example, in one of the things what he said is going to, he's going to put...
That will be your closing remarks. We have to go. Please proceed.
Well, he said he's going to ensure that the police start operating professionally. You have seen the way, the torture that they subjected on the Babaman Chilekwa. Is that a rule of law?
There are no investigations to prove that.
But you've seen pictures.
So that's allegations for now.
Have you not seen pictures? His face and everything.
With the propaganda, you never know that could be a Photoshop thing.
But why is the police mute? Why is the police mute about it? If it is not true, innocent, the police command should come out in the open and deny. The president should have directed the IG to come and say, these are unfounded. It is just propaganda. Okay? So what we are saying as Patriotic Front is that when HH is preaching about rule of law, we should see it in action. If PF committed crimes, if PF did not respect the freedom of expression, which I disagree. You know why? If there was no freedom of expression in Zambia, we are not going to have a number of radio stations that we have today. Before we took power, we had basically maybe less than 10.
Which we kept on closing, at the same time suspending. We have to go home.
3 out of 300.
All right. Thank you so much for coming, Honorable.
I don't know if time flies.
You still come back here. This is your home. Don't worry.
Time flies, but UPND should get to work.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right, I've been speaking to Honorable Anthony Kasangwe, who happens to be Member of Parliament for Bangwaulu constituency. Thank you so much. May God bless Zambia. May God bless Mother Africa. Good night.